We're going to venture into capitalism a little bit here. There's this saying that if you can't beat them, join them. But there's also this idea, that you don't actually have to join them. And that's what Ice Cube decided to do. So Ice Cube decided that he didn't really want to work within the professional athletic organizations that already exist in this country. So he didn't want to work with the NBA. So Ice Cube decided to create his own organization called the Big Three. So he started his own basketball league. It's actually pretty cool if you think about it, right? From what I understand, there are less games, so it's less strenuous on some of the athletes. So some of these guys that may have at one point played for the NBA, but maybe they had to end their career kind of early, they may try to want to be a part of the Big Three, right? Like I said, it's not as many games as the NBA has. Well, apparently, sometimes when you don't want to join them, your competitor doesn't want you to compete with them. And that is essentially what is happening to Ice Cube right now. Apparently, the National Basketball Association, the NBA, is not happy about the fact that Ice Cube started his own basketball league. And apparently, from what I understand about the Big Three, it seems to be getting a little bit popular. Here's a quick little explanation here about the Big Three. Check this out.
Did you know that Ice Cube's Big Three basketball league already has more viewers than the NHL and MLS? Back in 2016, after watching Kobe score 60 points in his final NBA game, Ice Cube and his business partner Jeff Quatnitz were inspired to start their own basketball league. Many NBA legends retire because of the wear and tear of an 82-game season. So they thought, how can we find a way for the world to still watch these basketball greats play? Fast forward a year later and the Big Three was formed. It's a unique 3v3 basketball league, and unlike the NBA, it actually allows for physicality and trash talk.
So let me pause here. Some people like it because it allows for the players to be a little bit more physical, but also they can talk trash. So you're not going to get a technical foul because you called someone a jerk or an asshole or something like that, for those who don't know. So the thing I thought that was important here too was the demand that comes from the NBA. Like if you're part of the NBA, like you play a lot of games throughout the year. Now, I know basketball isn't as physical as football, obviously, but it's still wear and tear on your knees. When you're jumping and shooting the basketball like that, eventually that will wear your knees down. So there is still some physical aspect to the game.
The first team to 50 points wins, so that means each game has a winning shot. And they have a 4-point shot 30 feet from the basket. Every year, at least 5 new sports leagues fail. It's reported that in 2023, the XFL lost $60 million. But last summer, in only the Big Three's 5th season, the games averaged 515,000 viewers on TV, and the championship had over 1 million people watching, which is much higher than we've seen from the NHL and MLS in nationally broadcasted games. Season number 6 of the Big Three starts this Sunday in Chicago, with games being televised on CBS. And every weekend this summer, the Big Three will be traveling to a different city, with the championship being on August 26th, right before the NFL season starts. Some players to watch this season include Nick Young, Joe Johnston, Gerald Green, Leandro Barbosa, and Mario Chalmers. And I'm excited for Isaiah Briscoe, the former #1 point guard from the class of 2015, who's going to try to lead Trilogy to their 3rd consecutive title.
So that's the Big Three in a nutshell. Again, I like these leagues that kind of let you get away with a little bit more than, like the NBA or the NFL. So, of course, even the Big Three has its own website. There's different teams here. You can see, like, again, it's just like similar to the NBA in the sense that they have different teams and they play against each other. But again, less games. But it's getting a lot of attention. The Big Three even has their own YouTube channel. So some of you are probably wondering, okay, what's the problem? The problem is it turns out the NBA is not too happy with Ice Cube having his own league. And apparently they have actually violated antitrust laws. I can't make this one up. Listen to this. So the U.S. Department of Justice launches an official NBA investigation for antitrust violations against Ice Cube's Big Three league. Dun, dun, dun. An investigation into the NBA is underway after the organization allegedly targeted Ice Cube's Big Three League through antitrust violations. According to TMZ Sports, the United States Department of Justice has launched an inquiry into the National Basketball Association after it reportedly exhibited anti-competitive behavior to eliminate the Big Three's growth as an entity of its own. Now let's talk about capitalism. Here's the problem about the second part: making that decision to not join them and start your own. People don't like it when you don't join them, but they definitely don't like it when you start your own, because now you are competition. You're a competitor. It is very difficult to compete with a business that has been around for decades and is large and makes a lot of money and dominates the media, right? It's very difficult to do that. I would use the comparison Walmart and Amazon. You can open a mom and pop shop that sells the same things that Walmart and Amazon sells, but it is very difficult to compete with those two entities because they are huge. There's a lot of money behind them. They've been around for a long time. So this is why other businesses, smaller businesses, have had to close because of companies like Amazon, because of companies like Walmart. You have like Whole Foods who sold to Amazon and said, go ahead, we'll just go ahead and take it, just go ahead. And that's what happens. Some of these other companies will just go ahead and give in because they can't compete. Problem is with this particular situation is that Ice Cube's Big Three is actually competitive. It's actually doing well. And the NBA does not like that. It is now in its sixth season. So the thing is, if the Big Three failed, or if the Big Three wasn't getting as much attention, I don't think the NBA would care. But the Big Three is doing well, and it is getting a lot of attention. And that to the NBA is a problem. So when people tell me that they're for free market and fair competition, I always push back with the competition isn't fair. Look at what the NBA is doing to the Big Three, violating antitrust laws. Let's go on. The claims. The allegations include reports that the NBA supposedly used its status to prevent sponsors and potential partners from doing business with the league. So they tried to block other sponsors and partners from working with them. So the league was started by Ice Cube and his business partner, Jeff Quintinez. I think that's how you pronounce the last name, Quintinez. The NBA also reportedly attempted to deter television networks from broadcasting the new league's games. So here's the thing. You started this basketball league. Obviously, people do like to watch sports on television, not just in person. But if the NBA is working with, behind the scenes, other television networks and telling them, don't play games from the Big Three League, that's not fair competition. For my capitalist friends out there, those of you who continue to tell me you believe in a free market, you believe in fair competition, the competition ain't fair, boo. That's what I've been trying to tell you. Look at what they're doing behind the scenes. Cube's Big Three was launched in 2017 and consisted of nearly all retired NBA players. So you see, this was a home for those players who retired from the NBA and they didn't have, their body couldn't take the wear and tear of playing all those games anymore, right? What's more, current NBA players have reportedly expressed a desire to play in the 3-on-3 league. See, I told you, here comes the competition. Current NBA players have reportedly expressed a desire to play in the Big Three. And the NBA does not like this. See, this is why I say, so they're going to try to do whatever they can to stop people from going to the Big Three or to limit the Big Three's visibility. The NBA has been doing that. The competition isn't fair. It goes on to say, however, according to the Big Three, the professional organization has put arbitrary rules in place to stop players from hooping with the league. The outlet points out that the NBA and the Big Three don't have seasons that overlap, and it isn't uncommon for current NBA players, including stars such as LeBron James, to play in non-NBA games once their season has concluded. For example, the Los Angeles Drew League is frequented by NBA players well after the regular season. As previously reported by Afrotech, this is not the first time that Ice Cube has accused the NBA of attempting to thwart his plans with the Big Three. Now on to the investigation. In addition to targeting players, it has also been reported that the NBA owners have been discouraged from investing in the Big Three while they own an NBA franchise. At this time, NBA spokesperson Mike Bass told TMZ, those claims are not true. We have been supportive of the Big Three since its inception, but we declined to invest. I mean, of course, he's not going to admit that it is true, right? According to a source familiar with the DOJ, Ice Cube and Quintanez reportedly met with DOJ lawyers earlier this year. The NBA owners are said to have officially received contact from investigators on the case as well. Should it be proven that the league did commit antitrust violations, reports reveal that the NBA could receive a significant fine. I would say define significant because the NBA has a lot of money. So what's significant to them may be different from what's significant to us, right? Now, there's more. So I want to play this video here. It says Ice Cube was right all along. The NBA was trying to target his Big Three basketball games. Oops. There we go. Listen to this.
Okay, we got to talk about Ice Cube and his big 3-on-3 tournament. Because what the NBA is doing to him, he might be able to settle for a lot of money, and that includes because of what the Justice Department had launched. Now, according to TMZ, the United States Department of Justice is investigating the NBA over alleged antitrust violations targeting Big Three. Now, according to the Justice Department, they believe that the NBA had been trying to torpedo Ice Cube's Big Three basketball league, and we have to get into all of these details. Now, TMZ Sports has learned that the DOJ launched the inquiry a couple of months ago, and they're examining alleged anti-competition behavior on part of the NBA amid them trying to squash the Big Three's growth. Essentially, the NBA is being accused of trying to destroy the Big Three tournament because retired NBA players, after they leave the NBA, were headed over to the Big Three to play. Now, according to the Justice Department, the NBA had purportedly been throwing its weight around to prevent sponsors and other potential partners from doing business with Ice Cube's league. And also, they were trying to discourage television networks from carrying the Big Three games. That is insane. That is very anti-competition and breaking antitrust laws, because there's no law that states there can't be another National Basketball League or National Basketball Association.
No, there isn't a law that says there can't be another National Basketball League. So to me, it kind of sounds like the NBA is trying to be a monopoly.
And the Big Three falls under one of those categories. And if it's a little confusing for you, think Netflix and Blockbuster. Now, current NBA players who are ready for retirement had expressed their desire to play for Ice Cube's league, including individual NBA players during the off season. But they were told, as the Big Three sees it, the NBA has prevented guys from doing so and putting arbitrary rules in place to stop players from hooping in Ice Cube's league. FYI, the NBA and Big Three seasons don't even overlap. Now, if the federal government does find that the NBA had violated antitrust laws, the NBA could see a significant fine, which means a big payout for Ice Cube and his league. It's crazy the lengths that these large businesses will go to squash people and small businesses. This is technically a small business, but you see the length that they would go just to stop former basketball players and current basketball players for just playing outside of the NBA.
See how this works, guys? Now, I want to remind you, Ice Cube is not one of those people that is a part of the club. I want to take you back to a time when Ice Cube tried to tell us that he's not a part of the club. So just keep that in mind. He is going to be a target. Listen to this.
Some of you may not have realized that I'm not part of the club. And a lot of you listening to me right here, right now, you're not part of the club either. And what I realized with the club is what makes them so mad is when you don't want to be a part of their fucking club. That pisses them off.
Remember what I was telling you? If you can't beat them, join them. And if you don't want to join them, you don't have to. But how dare you start your own?
What club am I talking about? I'm talking about the club of gatekeepers that we all got to deal with. You know who they are, and they definitely know who they are. A lot of people would be like, what? Who? Come on, man, stop playing. So ever since I put out the contract with Black America, you know they've been fucking with me. Here and there, this and that. But it's cool, you know. I expect that. You know, I've been working with, on the big three for a long time. And you know how they've been fucking with me with that. I done made it, plain, simple, and clear what they've been doing. The NBA been fucking with us. Now, a lot of people might say, like, well, but Cube, you want to work with the NBA. Really, I don't give a fuck about working with the NBA. What I want them to do, when I say work with us, is to stop working against us. Stop doing that bullshit behind the scenes that we know you're doing.
So remember, this was already a heads up when he says stop doing that behind the scenes that you know that you're doing. What was the NBA doing? They were trying to prevent other networks from showing big three games.
Mainstream media, they ain't fucking with us. And that's cool. We can do it ourselves. You know what I'm saying? We still on the rise without these motherfuckers. So we don't need them. You don't need them. So what am I going to do to deal with these motherfucking gatekeepers? Well, what I'm going to do is go on a Fuck the Gatekeepers podcast tour.
Okay. And then he goes on there talking about how he wants to do a podcast tour, and he has gone on to different podcasts as well. But that's the thing, guys. This is what I've been trying to tell people. Like, I get it. Some people like having like free market. Some people feel like, they want to have like that control and to be able to make as much money as they want to and that type of thing. But what people have to understand is that the system itself is not fair. As some people make it, some people don't. People don't become billionaires without exploiting someone along the way. That's how that happens. But the thing is, it's not, the competition itself is not fair. It's not fair for everybody. People do, stuff like that to you behind your back and try to make it so that your business will not be successful, or how dare you try to compete with them in any way, shape, or form. And that's the thing. It's just not fair. So people tell me, what fair competition? I'm like, there is no fair competition. It's not. It's none. But that is crazy, and it's wild. It's unfortunate, but I hope more people talk about that story, because again, not just whether you like basketball or not, or if you're a fan of Ice Cube, I hope people talk about that story, because we need to talk about how some of these businesses, and the NBA is a business. We need to talk about how some of these businesses do dirty-handed things like this and make it unfair for other people who are just trying to do their own thing. Bill says Ice Cube was always talented. He wrote most of the lyrics on the first NWA album for the entire group. All right.